Hello boys and girls, today we are going to be doing a worksheet where we are going to be coloring all the different seasons. So as you can see, we've got winter, spring, and then below we have summer and fall. So one of the first things I'm going to do before I even do any of my leaves or anything like that is I'm going to color each of the trees with a brown crayon. Now boys and girls, if you have crayons, you are perfectly fine to use crayons. If you need to use something like colored pencils or markers, it's a little bit easier to use either colored pencils or crayons for something like this. Markers, not necessarily so much because you will be coloring over everything. But let's just start with coloring each of our trees. Just start with coloring inside the bark as a brown color, okay? Let's start with just that right there, boys and girls. So now I've colored all of my trees from winter, spring, summer, fall. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start up with winter. So winter is when all the leaves are actually off the trees. So if we want to, we could even just leave the leaves alone right now. We could maybe get a little bit of blue if we want to try and like make the outlines of snow that might be on the trees. So if I wanted to, maybe some of the lower branches. So I've zoomed in on my winter. I'm going to start outlining a little bit where we could possibly have some snow if we want, little things of snow. If we want to, we can even put like some snow on the ground. And I'm doing this because our paper is already white, so I don't really need to use white if I don't want to. But we did get a lot of snow right before Christmas, so we know what it looks like to see like snow-covered trees and stuff like that. So I'm kind of just outlining where snow would be. I could even color it lightly with the blue if I wanted to. Or if I wanted to, I could even do lights in my winter tree, like a Christmas tree almost. So like how many people have Christmas trees. Not everyone does, obviously, but if I wanted to, I could put in little Christmas lights. And those would just be little circles here and there of different colors. Masika's going to do red and green. So there's my red. And let's do some green, kind of Christmassy type lights. So obviously not everyone celebrates Christmas, but if you saw a lot of houses all decorated, you would see lights all over. So those are just like little Christmas tree type lights. Now, moving on to spring, what Masika's actually going to do is I'm going to take a green. Now, it can be any kind of green. It can be a light green or it can be a dark green. Preferably, you should probably use a lighter green because darker green would be more for summer. So I'm going to actually put my dark green aside. If you have a light green, you're going to use a light green. And I'm really just going to do little circles at the edges of the branches. I'm not going to do all the way through just yet, just a little bit, because this is when our trees are just starting to get their leaves back. So they're not completely filled in with leaves. That happens more towards summertime. So I'm going to just gently do like little circles all around at the very ends of the branches. Just like that. And this makes it look more like it's spring, like all the leaves are just starting to come back. Now summer is when I want my dark green, and I actually do still want some of my light green as well, so I'm going to make sure I have both of these. And I'm going to start with the light green first, and I'm going to kind of do the same thing I did with spring, which is I'm going to put light green towards the ends of the branches. And I'm doing the light green first because it's easier to do a lighter color and then do a darker color on top of the lighter color. So I'm going to finish my lighter color first. And now I'm going to get my darker green and I'm going to add to this. And I'm going to kind of fill in some of that area in the middle here with my darker green. I'm still kind of doing like curly lines or little circles. But by doing it with that lighter green, it really makes it look like the tree is almost, or actually is, in full bloom, like we see in summertime. And if I wanted to, I could even go back to the light green again and add a few more curly lines, just like that. And then add just a little bit more dark green. You really want to make sure that that tree looks like it's alive and well, just like they all do in summertime. So, and that's how we do for summertime. Last but not least, we are going to do fall. Now with fall, we're going to do something kind of similar to what we did with the little lights for winter, but we're going to make sure that we're using red, yellow, and orange to do our little circles, because this is when the leaves change color and you see all these colors. All right, this is what we call our warm colors, because it makes you feel all warm inside. It's almost like if you were looking at a fire in a fireplace. It makes you feel all nice and warm. So Miss Sika's going to start with the red crayon, and like she did before, she's just going to do little dots all over. So unlike spring and summer, I'm not doing the curly lines. I'm just doing little dots, because during fall, this is when a lot of the leaves start to fall off. So we don't want to make our tree looking too full, especially when it's losing all its leaves. So I keep making little dots all the way at the edges of the branches. And I'm going to do the same thing with the orange as well. And lastly, I'm going to add the yellow. And that's how we do fall. And so here, boys and girls, here are our finished trees. Remember, we got winter with a little bit of snow, and I put some green and red Christmas tree lights. Spring, where we only used a light green and only a little bit on the edges of the branches. Summer, where we used both a light and a dark green and tried to fill up the tree as much as possible. And fall, where we used red, orange, and yellow. And once again, just like spring, it's only at the edges of the branches. So I hope you had fun with this, boys and girls.